She thought she was too fat to be loved. But the billionaire's love saw her beauty within. Joyce stood in front of the mirror, her hands trembling as she pulled at the fabric of her dress. Size 18. The number haunted her like a ghost she couldn't shake. At 34, she'd convinced herself that love wasn't meant for women who looked like her, women with thick thighs, soft bellies, and arms that jiggled when they moved. But Travis K. Maxwell, the 38-year-old billionaire who'd built an empire from nothing, saw something different when he looked at her. Something she'd never seen in herself. This is a story about a woman who believed she was unlovable, and the man who showed her that real beauty has nothing to do with a dress size. Hey everyone! If you're new here, welcome to the family. Hit that like button, drop a comment telling me where you're watching from, and subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. And to my returning viewers, thank you for being here. You're the reason I do this. Trust me, you'll want to stay until the end for this one. Now, let's dive in. Joyce wiped down the same counter for the third time that morning, her mind elsewhere as the early crowd filtered through the cafe in Asheville. The Blue Ridge Mountains loomed in the distance through the large windows, their peaks dusted with the first hint of autumn gold. She'd worked at Mountain Brew Cafe for 6 years now, and the rhythm of it, the hiss of the espresso machine, the chatter of tourists, the smell of fresh pastries, had become her life. Her safe, predictable, lonely life. "Joyce, honey, you're gonna wear a hole in that counter," called Paloma from behind the register. Her co-worker and closest friend raised an eyebrow, her dark eyes twinkling with amusement. "What's going on in that head of yours?" "Nothing." Joyce forced a smile, tucking a strand of her natural curls behind her ear. "Just thinking about Marcus from last night." Paloma's voice dropped to a whisper, though the cafe was loud enough that no one could overhear. Joyce's stomach twisted. Marcus. The blind date her sister had set up. The man who'd taken one look at her when she walked into the restaurant and couldn't hide the disappointment in his eyes. "He texted me this morning," Joyce said quietly, her voice barely audible over the noise. "Said he didn't think we were compatible." Compatible? Paloma's face flushed with anger. That man wouldn't know compatible if it hit him in his narrow-minded. "It's fine." Joyce cut her off, her throat tight. "Really? I'm used to it." But she wasn't. Not really. Each rejection carved a little deeper, confirmed what she'd been telling herself for years. At 34, with her full figure and the extra weight she'd carried since her mother died 4 years ago, she was simply too much, and somehow, never enough. Have any of you ever felt invisible? Like people look right through you because you don't fit their idea of perfect? Drop a comment if you know what I'm talking about. The bell above the door chimed, and Joyce looked up out of habit. Her breath caught. The man who walked in was tall, easily 6'2", with dark brown hair that looked like he'd run his hands through it a few too many times. He wore a charcoal suit that probably cost more than Joyce's monthly rent, but he'd loosened his tie like he couldn't quite stand the formality of it. His eyes were a striking gray-blue, the kind that seemed to see everything at once. And he was looking directly at her. Joyce glanced behind her, sure he must be looking at someone else. But there was only the coffee machine and the wall of local artwork. "Hi," he said, approaching the counter. His voice was deep, warm, with just a hint of gravel. "I'll take a black coffee. Large." "Sure." Joyce's hands fumbled with the cup, nearly dropping it. "Get it together. He's just a customer." "For here, or to go?" "For here." He pulled out his wallet, and Joyce caught a glimpse of the black credit card inside. "I'm Travis, by the way." She blinked. Customers didn't usually introduce themselves. "Joyce. Joyce." He repeated her name like he was testing how it felt on his tongue. Pretty name. Heat crept up her neck. She busied herself with the coffee maker, hyper-aware of his presence on the other side of the counter. When she turned back with his coffee, he was still watching her with an intensity that made her skin prickle. "That's $4.50, she managed. He handed her a 20. "Keep the change." Before she could protest, he'd taken his coffee and settled into a corner table by the window, pulling out a laptop. Joyce stared at the bill in her hand, then at Paloma, who was grinning like she'd just won the lottery. "Girl," Paloma whispered, leaning close. "Did you see the way he looked at you? He was just being nice. Nice. Paloma snorted. That man looked at you like you were the only person in this entire cafe. Like you were the only person in the whole damn world. Joyce's heart did a stupid flutter in her chest, but she shook her head. You're imagining things. She wasn't going to let herself hope. Hope was dangerous. Hope led to disappointment, and she'd had enough of that to last a lifetime. The morning rush hit, and Joyce lost herself in the familiar dance of taking orders, making drinks, and clearing tables. But every time she glanced toward the window, Travis was there. Sometimes typing on his laptop. Sometimes staring out at the mountains. Sometimes, and this made her pulse quicken, watching her by noon, most of the crowd had thinned. Joyce was wiping down tables when she heard his voice behind her. Excuse me. She turned, nearly bumping into him. He was so close she could smell his cologne, something woody and expensive that made her dizzy. I'm sorry to bother you, Travis said, and he actually looked apologetic. But I was wondering if you could recommend a good place for lunch around here. Joyce's mind went blank. Every restaurant she'd ever been to vanished from her memory. There's, the Grove Park Inn has a nice restaurant. I've been there. He smiled, and God, that smile did things to her insides that should be illegal. I was hoping for something more local, authentic. The Early Girl Eatery is good, she offered. Southern comfort food. It's about 10 minutes from here. Would you show me? The words hung in the air between them. Joyce stared at him, sure she'd misheard. What? Would you show me? Travis repeated, his gray-blue eyes steady on hers. I'm new to town, and I'd love a local's perspective. If you're on break, that is. Joyce glanced at Paloma, who was making frantic, say yes gestures behind Travis's back. My break isn't for another hour. I can wait. He said it so simply, so matter-of-factly, like waiting an hour for her was the most natural thing in the world. Okay, quick question, what would you do in this situation? Would you say yes to a gorgeous stranger asking you to lunch? Let me know in the comments. Okay, Joyce heard herself say. Sure. I can show you. Travis's smile widened, and for the first time in years, Joyce felt something bloom in her chest. Something warm and terrifying and wonderful all at once. Hope. An hour later, Joyce found herself walking down the tree-lined streets of downtown Asheville with a billionaire. Not that she knew he was a billionaire yet. That revelation would come later, in a way that would turn her entire world upside down. So you're new to Asheville? She asked, trying to ignore how nervous she felt. The afternoon sun filtered through the leaves overhead, casting dappled shadows across the sidewalk. Just moved here a month ago, Travis said. His hands were in his pockets, his stride relaxed. I needed a change of pace. Slower. Quieter. From where? Boston. He glanced at her. I ran a tech company there. Sold it recently and decided it was time for something different. Joyce's steps faltered slightly. Sold a company. That meant money. Probably a lot of it. Men with money didn't usually give women like her a second glance. What about you? Travis asked. Are you from here originally? Born and raised. Joyce tucked her hands into the pockets of her cardigan, suddenly self-conscious about the way the fabric pulled across her chest. My mom grew up here. She always said Asheville was magical. A place where people came to find themselves. Sounds like she was wise. She was. Joyce's throat tightened. She died 4 years ago. Breast cancer. Travis stopped walking. When Joyce turned to look at him, his expression had shifted, softened into something that looked like genuine sympathy. Not pity. Sympathy. There was a difference. I'm sorry, he said quietly. That must have been incredibly hard. It was. Joyce swallowed. Still is, some days. They stood there on the sidewalk, the world moving around them, tourists with cameras, locals on lunch breaks, street musicians playing guitar, and for a moment, it was just the two of them. Two strangers who'd somehow stumbled into honesty too quickly. "My father died when I was 29, Travis said finally. "Heart attack. 1 minute he was there, the next he was gone. It's been 9 years, and I still pick up the phone to call him sometimes." Joyce nodded. "I do the same thing with my mom. I'll see something she would have loved, a sunset, a recipe, a piece of art, and I reach for my phone before I remember." "It never really goes away, does it?" Travis said. "The missing them." "No," Joyce agreed softly. "It doesn't." Drop a heart in the comments if you've lost someone important to you. Sometimes we all need to know we're not alone in our grief. They started walking again, the conversation shifting to lighter topics. Travis asked about her favorite spots in Asheville, the River Arts District, the Biltmore Estate, the hiking trails that snaked through the mountains. Joyce found herself talking more than she usually did, her initial nervousness fading as Travis listened with genuine interest. When they reached Early Girl Eatery, the lunch crowd had already packed the small restaurant. The hostess apologized. "It would be a 45-minute wait." "We can go somewhere else," Joyce offered quickly. But Travis shook his head. "I don't mind waiting. Do you have time?" She should say no. She should make up an excuse and go back to work. But there was something about the way he looked at her, like she was interesting, worth his time, that made her want to stay. "I have time," she said. They ended up at a bench in a nearby pocket park, surrounded by autumn flowers and the sound of a small fountain. Travis had insisted on grabbing them coffee from a street vendor, and now they sat side by side, cups warming their hands as they talked. "Can I ask you something?" Travis said after a comfortable silence. "Sure." "Earlier, at the cafe, you seemed surprised when I introduced myself." He turned to face her, his expression curious. "Why?" Joyce's cheeks burned. "I don't know. I guess customers don't usually do that." "I wasn't just a customer." The words hung between them, loaded with meaning Joyce wasn't sure she could unpack. She stared down at her coffee, watching the steam rise. "Joyce." Travis's voice was gentle. "Look at me." She did, reluctantly. His gray-blue eyes held hers, steady and warm. "You're beautiful," he said simply. Joyce's breath caught. She waited for the punchline, the qualifier. Beautiful for your size, beautiful on the inside, beautiful personality. But Travis just watched her, his expression open and honest. "I don't." She shook her head. "You don't have to say that." "I'm not saying it because I have to. I'm saying it because it's true." Travis set his coffee down on the bench beside him. "From the moment I walked into that cafe and saw you, I couldn't look away. You have this warmth about you, this light. It's captivating." Have you ever had someone say something to you that completely changed how you saw yourself? Comment below. I want to hear your stories. Joyce wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to believe him so badly it hurt. But years of rejection had taught her to protect herself, to build walls so high that hope couldn't sneak through the cracks. I'm not what men usually want," she said quietly. The admission tasted like ash on her tongue. "I'm not thin. I'm not pretty in the way that—" "Stop." Travis's voice was firm, not angry but absolute. "Don't do that. Don't let other people's narrow definitions tell you who you are." "Easy for you to say." The words came out sharper than she intended. "You're—" She gestured at him, at his perfect face and his expensive suit and the confidence that seemed to radiate from him like heat. "You're you." Travis was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was soft. "When I was 23, I was homeless." Joyce's head snapped up. "What? Homeless?" he repeated. "Living in my car, eating 1 meal a day, showering at the gym. I dropped out of college to start a business, and it failed spectacularly. Lost everything. My girlfriend left me. My friends disappeared. For 6 months, I was completely alone." He stared out at the fountain, his jaw tight. People looked through me on the street. Like I was invisible. Like I didn't matter because I didn't have money or status or any of the things that supposedly make you valuable. Joyce sat frozen, her coffee forgotten. So when I tell you that you're beautiful, Travis continued, turning back to her, I'm not saying it lightly. I know what it's like to feel invisible. To feel like you're not enough. And I'm here to tell you that you are more than enough, Joyce. You're extraordinary. And anyone who can't see that is a fool. Tears burned behind Joyce's eyes. She blinked them back furiously, but one escaped anyway, sliding down her cheek. Hey, Travis said softly. He reached out, hesitated, then gently brushed the tear away with his thumb. His touch was warm, careful, like she was something precious that might break. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you cry. You didn't. Joyce's voice was thick. I mean, you did, but not in a bad way. No one's ever said anything like that to me before. Travis's expression darkened. Then you've been surrounded by the wrong people. They sat there in that little park, the world humming around them, and something shifted between them. Something delicate and new, like the first green shoots of spring pushing through frozen ground. Quick pause. Are you rooting for Joyce and Travis? Comment, yes, if you want them to get their happy ending. Their lunch at Early Girl Eatery was wonderful. Travis ordered the shrimp and grits, Joyce got the fried chicken, and they shared a piece of buttermilk pie that made Travis close his eyes and groan like he'd found religion. This pie, he said, might be the best thing I've ever eaten. Joyce laughed, the sound bubbling up from somewhere deep in her chest. Wait until you try the blackberry cobbler at the pub on Lexington. That'll change your life. Then you'll have to take me there sometime. The casualness of it, the assumption that there would be a sometime, made Joyce's heart skip. She wanted to protect herself, to not get her hopes up. But sitting across from Travis, watching the way he smiled when he talked about his plans for a new business venture in Asheville, listening to him ask her opinion like it actually mattered. For the first time in years, she wanted to take the risk. When they left the restaurant, Travis walked her back to Mountain Brew Cafe. The afternoon sun slanted long across the streets, painting everything gold. Thank you for showing me around, Travis said when they reached the cafe entrance. And for the company. I had a really good time. Me too, Joyce admitted. Travis pulled out his phone. Can I get your number? I'd like to see you again. If you want to, that is. Joyce's hands trembled as she entered her number into his phone. This was happening. This beautiful, successful man actually wanted to see her again. I'll text you, Travis promised. Then, surprising her completely, he leaned down and pressed a gentle kiss to her cheek. His lips were warm, his cologne wrapping around her like a physical thing. He pulled back, smiled, and walked away. Joyce stood on the sidewalk, her hand pressed to her cheek where he'd kissed her, and watched him go. Paloma appeared beside her a moment later, grinning like a maniac. Girl, Paloma breathed. Tell me everything. Travis texted her that night. Travis, thank you again for today. The pie lived up to the hype. Joyce stared at her phone screen, her heart doing acrobatics in her chest. She was sitting on her couch in her small apartment, wearing her rattiest pajamas and eating ice cream straight from the container. Not exactly the picture of romance. Joyce, told you. Asheville doesn't disappoint. Travis, neither do you. Joyce set down her ice cream, suddenly unable to eat. She read the message 3 times, her brain trying to find the hidden meaning, the catch, the moment where he'd reveal this was all a joke. Travis, what are you doing tomorrow night? Joyce, working until 6. Why? Travis, I want to take you to dinner. Somewhere nice. Will you let me? Joyce's thumb hovered over the keyboard. Every instinct she'd developed over years of disappointment screamed at her to say no. To protect herself. To not set herself up for the inevitable hurt. But there was something else there too. Something small but stubborn, whispering that maybe, just maybe, this time could be different. Joyce, yes. Travis, perfect. I'll pick you up at 7. Wear something you feel beautiful in. Joyce looked down at her pajamas and laughed. Wear something you feel beautiful in. As if she owned anything that made her feel that way. The next morning, she called in a favor with her sister, Bryn. "I need help," Joyce said without preamble when Bryn answered. "I have a date tonight and nothing to wear." There was a pause. "A date?" "Joyce, honey. With who?" "His name is Travis. I met him at work yesterday." Another pause, longer this time. "Is this real? You're not messing with me." "It's real, Bryn. And before you ask, yes, I'm nervous. Yes, I'm terrified. And yes, I need you to help me not have a complete breakdown about what to wear." Bryn, to her credit, didn't ask any more questions. "I'll be there in an hour. We're going shopping." Shopping with Bryn should have been fun. Should have been one of those sister bonding moments that Joyce would look back on fondly. Instead, it was 3 hours of torture. They'd hit every boutique in downtown Asheville. Bryn, who was a size 6 and could wear literally anything, kept pulling dresses that Joyce knew wouldn't fit. Wouldn't even come close to fitting. "How about this one?" Bryn held up a little black dress with cap sleeves. Joyce didn't even have to check the size. "Too small." "This one." "Also too small." "Joyce." Bryn's voice took on that patient tone that made Joyce want to scream. "You haven't even tried them on." "I don't need to try them on to know they won't fit, Bryn." "You're a size 16, 18, Joyce corrected quietly. "I'm an 18 now." Bryn's expression softened with something that looked uncomfortably like pity. "Okay, 18. There are plenty of beautiful options in your size. You just have to be willing to look." But that was the problem, wasn't it? Joyce had spent years avoiding mirrors, avoiding photographs, avoiding anything that forced her to confront what she looked like. She didn't feel beautiful. She felt like she was taking up too much space in a world that had made it very clear she should be smaller. They finally found a dress at a boutique that specialized in plus sizes. It was deep burgundy, with 3/4 sleeves and a flattering wrap style that cinched at her waist. When Joyce looked at herself in the mirror, she almost didn't recognize the woman staring back. "You look stunning," the saleswoman said warmly. Joyce turned, examining herself from every angle. The dress hugged her curves without clinging, the color rich against her dark skin. For once, just once, she didn't immediately catalog everything she hated about her reflection. "I'll take it," she said before she could change her mind. Back at her apartment, with the dress hanging on her closet door, reality set in. Travis was picking her up in 4 hours. She was going to dinner with a man who'd called her beautiful, who'd shared his own pain with her, who looked at her like she was something worth seeing. And she was absolutely terrified. Real talk, have you ever been scared of something good happening to you? Like you're just waiting for it to fall apart? Drop a comment if you've been there, she texted Paloma. "Joyce, I can't do this." Paloma, "Can't do what?" "Joyce, this date." Travis, "Any of it." "I'm going to cancel." Paloma, "Girl, if you cancel, I'm driving to your apartment and dragging you to that date myself." Joyce, "But what if..." Paloma, "What if what?" "What if he genuinely likes you? What if you have an amazing time? What if you let yourself be happy for once?" Joyce stared at her phone, Paloma's words sinking in. "Paloma, you deserve good things, Joyce. You deserve to be loved. Stop punishing yourself for not looking like a magazine cover. Travis sees you. Really sees you. Give him a chance to prove that you're worth it." Joyce, "What if I'm not though?" Paloma, "Then he's an idiot and will egg his car." "But Joyce..." "I don't think he's an idiot." T655, Joyce was ready. The burgundy dress, her hair in soft curls, makeup that Bryn had helped her apply via video call. She looked at herself in the full-length mirror by her door and tried to see what Travis saw. The doorbell rang at exactly 7. Joyce took a deep breath, smoothed down her dress one more time, and opened the door. Travis stood in the hallway, wearing dark jeans and a crisp white button-down with the sleeves rolled up. His eyes widened when he saw her. "Wow," he breathed. "Joyce, you look..." She waited for the qualifier. "Beautiful but gorgeous, considering. Nice, for someone your size." "You look breathtaking," Travis finished, his voice rough. Absolutely breathtaking. Heat flooded Joyce's cheeks. Thank you. You look really good too. That was an understatement. Travis looked like he'd stepped out of an ad for expensive watches or luxury cars, effortlessly handsome in a way that made Joyce's mouth go dry. He offered his arm. Ready. Joyce locked her apartment and took his arm, hyper-aware of every place their bodies touched. Travis led her downstairs to the parking lot, where a sleek black car waited. It looked expensive, really expensive, all smooth lines and dark windows. What kind of car is this? Joyce asked as Travis opened the passenger door for her. Tesla Model S. He grinned. Figured if I was moving to a place as beautiful as Asheville, I should probably stop polluting it. Inside, the car was all leather and technology. Joyce settled into the seat, trying not to think about how much this vehicle probably cost. More than her yearly salary, definitely. Quick question, does anyone else get nervous in really expensive cars? Like you're afraid to breathe wrong? Just me. Travis started the engine, or rather, the car hummed to life with barely a sound, and pulled out of the parking lot. Where are we going? Joyce asked. The Horizon restaurant at the Grove Park Inn. Joyce's stomach dropped. Travis, that place it's really expensive. Is it? He glanced at her, eyebrows raised in apparent surprise. I just heard it had the best views in town. It does, but nothing. Travis's voice was gentle but firm. Joyce, I want to take you somewhere special. Please let me do this. She wanted to argue. Wanted to insist they go somewhere more modest, somewhere that wouldn't leave her feeling like she owed him something. But the earnest look on his face stopped her. Okay, she said quietly. Thank you. The Horizon restaurant did have the best views in Asheville. Set high on the grounds of the historic Grove Park Inn, it offered panoramic vistas of the Blue Ridge Mountains, now painted in shades of gold and orange as the sun began its descent. They were seated at a table by the window, the dying light washing everything in amber. A server appeared immediately with menus and water, his movements practiced and precise. Joyce opened her menu and nearly choked. The cheapest entree was $45. Order whatever you want, Travis said, not even looking at the prices. Travis. Joyce. He set down his menu and looked at her. I know this is expensive. I know you're probably doing math in your head right now, calculating what this meal costs compared to your groceries for a week. But I need you to stop. Just for tonight, let someone take care of you. Can you do that? His words were so direct, so honest, that Joyce found herself nodding before she could overthink it. They ordered. Joyce got the mountain trout, Travis ordered the filet mignon, and fell into easy conversation. Travis asked about her life in Asheville, her dreams, what she loved about her job. He listened when she talked, really listened, his attention never wavering. What about you? Joyce asked as their entrees arrived. You said you sold your company. What are you doing now? Looking for my next challenge. Travis cut into his steak. I built Maxwell Technologies from the ground up. Spent 15 years of my life on it. And when I sold it last year for $3.2 billion, I thought I'd feel accomplished. Successful. Joyce's fork clattered to her plate. I'm sorry, did you say billion? With a B. Travis's mouth quirked. Yes. With a B. You're a billionaire. Joyce stated it like a fact she was still trying to process. Technically, yes. Travis took a sip of his wine. Though I prefer to think of myself as someone who got very lucky with timing and had a good team. Joyce's mind reeled. A billionaire. She was on a date with an actual billionaire. Men like that dated models and actresses, not plus-size baristas from small-town cafes. I can see you spiraling, Travis said quietly. I'm not spiraling. You are. He set down his fork and reached across the table, his hand covering hers. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking that I'm out of your league. That I could have anyone I want, so why would I want you? Joyce's throat tightened. She tried to pull her hand back, but Travis held on gently. "Here's what I want you to understand," he continued. "I've dated models, actresses, women who looked like they stepped off magazine covers. And you know what? Most of them were boring, shallow, more concerned with how they looked than who they were." He squeezed her hand. "You're different, Joyce. When I'm with you, I feel like I can breathe for the first time in years. You're real, authentic. You see me, not my money, not my success, just me. Do you have any idea how rare that is?" Drop a comment if you think Joyce should believe him, or if you'd be as skeptical as she is right now. "I want to believe you," Joyce whispered. "But I've spent my whole life being told I'm not enough. Not pretty enough, not thin enough, not enough, period. And now you're sitting here, this perfect, successful, gorgeous man, telling me I'm special. It doesn't make sense." "It doesn't have to make sense." Travis's gray-blue eyes held hers. "Love never does." Joyce's breath caught. "Love." Travis smiled, slow and warm. "Too soon. Maybe a little." "Fair enough." He released her hand and picked up his fork again. "But Joyce, I meant what I said yesterday. From the moment I saw you, I couldn't look away. And the more time I spend with you, the more certain I become that walking into that cafe was the best thing that's happened to me in years." They finished their meal as the sun set completely, the mountains fading to silhouettes against a darkening sky. Travis told her about his plans to start a new business in Asheville, something focused on sustainable technology. Joyce talked about her dream of opening her own bakery someday, though she immediately felt silly saying it out loud. "Why is that silly?" Travis asked. "Because I'm 34 years old and working as a barista," Joyce said. "Dreams like that are for people who actually have their lives together. Or for people brave enough to go after what they want." Travis signaled for the check. "What would you call your bakery?" Joyce hesitated. She'd never told anyone this. "Sweet Surrender. My mom used to say that baking was an act of surrender, letting go of control and trusting the process." "I love that." Travis's voice was warm. "And I think you should do it." "Just like that? You think I should open a bakery?" "Why not?" Travis signed the check. Joyce deliberately didn't look at the total, and stood, offering her his hand. "Life's too short to not go after what makes you happy." They walked out to the terrace, where a few other couples lingered, enjoying the night air. The Blue Ridge Mountains spread out before them, dark shapes against a star-studded sky. Asheville glittered below, a constellation of lights in the valley. Travis stood close, his arm brushing hers. "Thank you for tonight." "I should be thanking you," Joyce said. "This was incredible." "It doesn't have to end." Travis turned to face her fully. "I want to keep seeing you, Joyce. I want to take you on more dates. I want to learn everything about you. What makes you laugh, what makes you cry, what you dream about when you can't sleep." Joyce's heart hammered against her ribs. "Travis, I know you're scared," he interrupted gently. "I know you've been hurt. But I'm asking you to trust me. Just a little. Just enough to see where this goes." She looked up at him, this beautiful man who'd appeared in her life like something out of a dream. Every logical part of her brain screamed that this would end badly, that men like Travis didn't fall for women like her, that she was setting herself up for the worst heartbreak of her life. But standing there on that terrace, with the mountains watching and the stars overhead and Travis's gray-blue eyes looking at her like she was the only woman in the world. "Okay," Joyce whispered. "Okay. Let's see where this goes." Travis's smile was brilliant. Then, slowly, giving her every chance to pull away, he leaned down and kissed her. It was soft at first, tentative, like he was asking a question. Joyce's eyes fluttered closed, and she kissed him back, her hands coming up to rest on his chest. Travis deepened the kiss, one hand cupping her face, the other sliding to her waist, pulling her closer. When they finally broke apart, Joyce was breathless. Travis rested his forehead against hers, his breathing uneven. I've wanted to do that since the moment I met you, he murmured. Joyce laughed, the sound shaky. Really? Really? He pulled back just enough to look at her. You have no idea what you do to me, do you? Before Joyce could answer, her phone buzzed in her purse. She ignored it, but it buzzed again. And again. Sorry, she muttered, pulling it out. 3 texts from Bryn. Bryn, how's it going? Bryn, Joyce and Lansford, you better be having a good time. Bryn, if you're not responding because he's a creep, send me your location now. Joyce laughed and showed Travis the messages. He grinned. Should we let your sister know you're not being held hostage? Probably a good idea. Joyce typed out a quick response. Having an amazing time. He's perfect. Talk tomorrow. Bryn's reply was immediate. I knew it. Details tomorrow. Alright, drop a comment. Are you Team Travis? Or are you waiting for the other shoe to drop? Let me know what you think. 3 weeks later, Joyce was in love. She hadn't meant to fall. Had actively tried not to, in fact. But Travis made it impossible. He showed up at the cafe every morning, without fail. Sometimes he worked on his laptop in the corner. Sometimes he sat at the counter and talked to her between customers, making her laugh with stories about his attempts to settle into mountain life. He took her on dates. Some fancy, like the Horizon restaurant, others simple, like picnics at the Biltmore estate or walks through the River Arts District. He never made her feel like she was too much or not enough. He just made her feel seen. And God, the way he kissed her. They were taking it slow physically, Travis's insistence, not hers. I want to do this right, he'd said one night when they'd been making out on her couch and she'd started pulling at his shirt. I want you to know this isn't just physical for me. Which, of course, only made her fall harder. But despite the perfection of it all, Joyce couldn't shake the nagging feeling that the other shoe would eventually drop. That Travis would wake up one day and realize he could do better. That someone from his past, some beautiful, thin ex-girlfriend, would reappear and remind him what he was missing. Her fears seemed to materialize on a Tuesday morning when a woman walked into Mountain Brew Cafe like she owned the place. She was stunning. Tall and willowy, with honey blonde hair that fell in perfect waves down her back. She wore designer jeans and a silk blouse, with heels that probably cost more than Joyce's rent. Her skin was flawless, her body a perfect size too. Her smile practiced and cold. Joyce was wiping down the espresso machine when the woman approached the counter. Hi, she said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. I'm looking for Travis Maxwell. I heard he's been coming here. Joyce's stomach clenched. He usually comes in around 9. Perfect. The woman's eyes traveled over Joyce, taking in every curve, every extra pound, with undisguised assessment. And you are? Joyce. I work here. Ah. The woman's smile sharpened. Of course. Well, Joyce, when Travis arrives, could you tell him that Kendall is here? I'm sure he'll want to see me. She said it with such confidence, such certainty, that Joyce felt her carefully constructed hope begin to crumble. Sure, Joyce managed. I'll let him know. Kendall selected a table by the window, the table Travis usually sat at, and pulled out her phone, crossing her legs with practiced elegance. Paloma appeared at Joyce's elbow. Who's Miss Vogue over there? Trouble, Joyce whispered. Her name's Kendall. She's here for Travis. Girlfriend? I don't know. Maybe. Paloma squeezed Joyce's shoulder. Don't jump to conclusions. Wait and see. But Joyce didn't have to wait long. At 9:03, Travis walked through the door, and his entire body went rigid when he saw Kendall. Travis. Kendall stood, her face lighting up with what looked like genuine joy. She crossed the cafe in 3 strides and threw her arms around him. Travis's hands came up to her shoulders, gently but firmly pushing her back. Kendall. What are you doing here? Looking for you, obviously. She pouted, prettily. You just disappeared, Travis. No goodbye, no explanation. I've been worried sick. Travis's jaw tightened. His eyes found Joyce's across the cafe, and she saw the apology there. The explanation he couldn't give yet. We should talk outside, he said to Kendall. Why outside? Kendall linked her arm through his possessively. I'm perfectly comfortable here. Kendall. Travis's voice was harder now. Outside. Now. He pulled his arm free and walked toward the door. Kendall followed, but not before shooting Joyce a triumphant smile. Through the cafe window, Joyce watched them talk on the sidewalk. Kendall gestured animatedly, her face cycling through emotions, pleading, angry, seductive. Travis stood with his arms crossed, his expression closed off. The conversation lasted maybe 10 minutes. Then Travis shook his head firmly, said something final, and walked back into the cafe. Kendall stared after him, her perfect face twisted with fury, before stalking off toward a BMW parked down the street. Travis approached the counter. Joyce, I'm sorry. That was your ex. Joyce tried to keep her voice steady. Not exactly. Travis ran a hand through his hair. We dated briefly. 3 months. I ended it 6 months ago. She seems to think otherwise. She doesn't want to accept it. Travis leaned against the counter, his eyes earnest. Joyce, I ended things with Kendall because I realized I was wasting both our time. I didn't love her. I didn't even really like her. And she knew it. She's beautiful, Joyce said quietly. She's also shallow, manipulative, and more interested in my bank account than anything else. Travis reached across the counter, taking Joyce's hand. You have nothing to worry about. But Joyce did worry. Because Kendall represented everything she wasn't. Everything society told her she should be. Be honest. Would you be worried too? Drop a yes or no in the comments. Over the next week, Kendall became a constant presence. She showed up at the cafe. She, accidentally, ran into them at restaurants. She posted old photos with Travis on social media, tagging him with captions like, missing the good old days. Joyce tried not to let it get to her. Tried to believe Travis when he said Kendall meant nothing. But every time she saw that beautiful woman, doubt crept in. The breaking point came on Friday night. Travis had invited Joyce to a charity gala at the Biltmore estate, a black-tie affair for Asheville's elite. Joyce had been nervous about it for days, had splurged on a formal dress that made her feel almost pretty. When Travis picked her up, his reaction made every penny worth it. Joyce, he breathed, his eyes dark. You're stunning. The dress was deep emerald green, with a fitted bodice and a flowing skirt that hid her thighs. She'd had her hair professionally done, loose curls pinned up to show off her neck and shoulders. You clean up pretty well yourself, Joyce said. Travis wore a classic tuxedo, and he looked like he'd stepped out of a James Bond movie. Devastatingly handsome, impossibly elegant. To the gala, Joyce felt out of place immediately. The Biltmore's banquet hall was filled with Asheville's wealthy and powerful, women in designer gowns and men in expensive suits. Servers circulated with champagne and hors d'oeuvres. A string quartet played in the corner. Travis kept her close, his hand on her lower back, introducing her to people as, Joyce, my girlfriend. The word sent a thrill through her every time. But then Kendall appeared. She wore a white dress that left little to the imagination, plunging neckline, high slit, back completely bare. Every eye in the room turned to her. Travis. She glided over, ignoring Joyce completely. I didn't know you'd be here. Kendall. Travis's voice was flat. This is a private event. Oh, I'm on the guest list. She smiled sweetly. Harrison Whitaker invited me. You remember Harrison, don't you? Your old business partner. Travis's jaw tightened. What do you want? Just to talk. Kendall's eyes finally flicked to Joyce, dismissive. Alone. Anything you have to say, you can say in front of Joyce. Fine. Kendall's smile turned sharp. I'm pregnant, Travis. With your baby. The world stopped. Joyce felt the floor drop out from under her. Travis went absolutely still, his face draining of color. That's impossible, he said, his voice deadly quiet. Is it? Kendall placed a hand on her flat stomach. We were together 6 months ago, Travis. You do the math. We used protection every single time. Protection fails. Kendall's voice was sweet poison. And now we're tied together forever. Whether you like it or not. Okay, comment time. Do you believe Kendall? Or is this a manipulation? Let me know what you think is really going on. Joyce's hands were shaking. She set down her champagne glass before she dropped it. I need air, she managed. Travis reached for her. Joyce, wait. I just need a minute. She pulled away and walked as quickly as she could toward the terrace doors, ignoring the curious stares from the other guests. Outside, the night air was cool against her heated face. Joyce gripped the stone railing and tried to breathe. Tried to process. Tried not to fall apart. Travis was going to be a father. With Kendall. Beautiful, perfect Kendall who looked like she'd stepped out of a magazine, of course. Of course this would happen. Of course Joyce couldn't have something good without it being ripped away. She heard footsteps behind her. Joyce. Travis's voice was rough. Please look at me. She turned. He looked wrecked, his hair messed up like he'd been running his hands through it, his bow tie askew. I don't know if she's telling the truth, he said immediately. But if she is, then you're going to be a father. Joyce's voice cracked. With your ex-girlfriend. With someone I don't love. Someone I don't even like. Travis crossed to her, his hands hovering like he wasn't sure if he was allowed to touch her anymore. Joyce, this changes nothing between us. It changes everything. Joyce's voice rose. Travis, if she's pregnant, if that's your baby, you'll be tied to her forever. You'll have to see her, co-parent with her. And me. Where do I fit in that picture? Right by my side. Travis's voice was fierce. Where you belong. I don't belong here, Joyce said, gesturing at the gala, at the mansion, at this entire world of wealth and privilege she'd stumbled into. Look at me, Travis. I'm a barista. I wear a size 18. I don't fit into your life, and this, she swallowed hard. This just proves it. Don't do that. Travis's eyes flashed. Don't use this as an excuse to run because you're scared. I'm not. You are. Travis grabbed her hands, holding them tight when she tried to pull away. You're terrified of being happy. Terrified of believing that someone could actually love you. So you're looking for reasons to sabotage this before you get hurt. Maybe I'm just being realistic, Joyce shot back. Maybe I'm accepting that this, us, was too good to be true. Or maybe you're breaking your own heart before I get the chance to. Travis's voice dropped. Which I would never do, by the way. Never, Joyce. You're it for me. Tears burned behind Joyce's eyes. You can't know that. We've known each other for 3 weeks. I know that I wake up thinking about you. That every good thing that happens, you're the first person I want to tell. I know that when I imagine my future, you're in every single version of it. Travis cupped her face in his hands. I know that I love you, Joyce. Completely. Terrifyingly. Absolutely. Joyce's breath hitched. Travis. I love you, he repeated. Your curves, your laugh, the way you bite your lip when you're nervous. I love your kindness and your strength and the way you see the world. I love that you make me want to be better. I love everything about you, and I'm not letting you go without a fight. But Kendall is lying. Travis's voice was certain. I don't know what her game is, but I will figure it out. And even if she's somehow telling the truth, it doesn't change how I feel about you. You are what I want, Joyce. You're who I choose. Now, and always. Drop a heart if you're crying right now. Because I definitely am. Joyce couldn't speak. Couldn't move. Travis's words wrapped around her like a blanket, warm and solid and real. Say something, Travis whispered. Please. I love you too, Joyce choked out. God help me, I love you so much it scares me. Travis pulled her into his arms, holding her so tight she could barely breathe. Joyce buried her face in his chest, feeling his heart hammering against her cheek. "We'll figure this out," Travis murmured into her hair. "Together. Whatever happens with Kendall, we'll face it together." "Okay." Joyce nodded against his chest. They stood there on the terrace, holding each other as if they could block out the rest of the world through sheer force of will. Inside the gala, music played and people laughed and Kendall waited with her bombshell and her perfect smile. But out there, under the stars, it was just Joyce and Travis. Two broken people who'd found something whole in each other. Want to know what happens next? You're going to have to stick around for part 2. And trust me, the story only gets more intense from here. Comment, part 2, if you're hooked. The drive home was silent. Travis held Joyce's hand the entire time, his thumb tracing small circles on her palm. When they reached her apartment, he walked her to the door. "I should go," he said quietly. "Give you time to process." "Stay." The word came out before Joyce could stop it. "Please. I don't want to be alone right now." Travis searched her face. "Are you sure?" Joyce unlocked her door in response. Inside her small apartment, everything felt different. The walls seemed closer, the ceiling lower. Travis looked too big for the space, too polished, too expensive. But when he pulled her back into his arms, none of that mattered. "I meant what I said," Travis murmured. "About loving you." "I know." Joyce's fingers found the buttons of his tuxedo jacket. "I believe you." "Do you?" His hands stilled hers. "Because I need you to really hear me, Joyce. You are not second best. You are not a consolation prize. You are not someone I'm settling for because I can't have someone else." "Then, what am I?" "Everything." Travis tipped her chin up, his gray-blue eyes intense. "You're everything I've been looking for without knowing I was looking. You're home, Joyce. Your peace and chaos and laughter and hope all wrapped up in one beautiful woman." Joyce's eyes filled with tears. "Even with everything that happened tonight?" "Especially with everything that happened tonight." Travis kissed her forehead, her cheeks, the tip of her nose. "You didn't run. You didn't give up on us. You stood there and told me you loved me even though you were scared. Do you know how brave that is?" "I don't feel brave." "Then let me be brave enough for both of us." Travis kissed her softly. "Let me show you how much you mean to me." They moved to the couch, sinking into its worn cushions. Travis pulled Joyce onto his lap, and she went willingly, her dress pooling around them. He kissed her slowly, thoroughly, his hands sliding up her sides, her back, tangling in her hair. "God." He breathed against her lips. "Do you have any idea what you do to me?" Joyce pulled back slightly, suddenly self-conscious. "Travis, I don't." His hands framed her face. "Whatever you're about to say, whatever doubts are creeping in, stop. When I look at you, Joyce, I see perfection. Every curve, every inch of skin. You're so goddamn beautiful it makes me ache. I don't look like Kendall. Thank God." Travis's voice was fervent. "I don't want someone who looks like Kendall. I don't want anyone but you. Your softness, your warmth, the way you feel in my arms like you were made to be there." He kissed her again, deeper this time, his hands mapping her body with reverent touches. Joyce let herself sink into it, let herself believe, just for a moment, that she was everything he said she was. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Travis rested his forehead against hers. "I should go," he said again, though his arms tightened around her. "Before I completely lose my mind." "What if I want you to lose your mind?" Travis groaned. "Joyce, you're killing me." "Good." She kissed along his jaw, feeling him shudder. "Because you've been killing me for 3 weeks." "Not tonight." Travis caught her hands again, his grip gentle but firm. "Not like this. Not when you're emotionally raw and I'm still processing whatever the hell Kendall was trying to pull. When we make love, and we will, I want you to have 0 doubts. About me, about us, about how much I worship every inch of you." "Quick question. Do you respect Travis more or less for wanting to wait? Drop your thoughts below. Joyce wanted to argue. Wanted to push. But something in Travis's eyes stopped her. This wasn't rejection. This was respect. Okay, she said softly. But you're staying anyway. Just to sleep. I can do that. They changed, Joyce into her pajamas, Travis borrowing a pair of sweats and a t-shirt that was comically tight on his muscular frame. They climbed into Joyce's double bed, and Travis pulled her against his chest, her back to his front, his arm draped over her waist. This okay? He murmured. Perfect. Joyce closed her eyes, feeling Travis's heartbeat against her back, his breath warm on her neck. For the first time in years, she felt safe. Protected. Loved. But as she drifted off to sleep, one thought kept circling her mind. What if Kendall was telling the truth? Travis had demanded proof. That much became clear over the next 2 days. Joyce was at work on Sunday morning when Travis walked in with his laptop, his expression grim. We need to talk, he said without preamble. Joyce's stomach dropped. What happened? Kendall's lawyer sent over her medical records. Travis set his laptop on the counter and turned it so Joyce could see. She's pregnant. 12 weeks. Joyce felt like she'd been punched. Oh. But here's the thing. Travis's finger moved across the screen, pointing to dates. We broke up 6 months ago. And according to these records, she got pregnant 10 weeks ago. That's 2 months after we ended things. Joyce's head snapped up. She lied. She lied. Travis's voice was hard. She's pregnant, but it's not mine. Mathematically impossible. Relief flooded through Joyce so suddenly her knees went weak. Oh my God. I'm having my lawyer draft a cease and desist letter. Travis closed the laptop. If Kendall comes near you, near us, again, I'm pursuing a restraining order. Joyce threw her arms around his neck, not caring that they were in the middle of the cafe, that customers were watching, that Paloma was grinning like a fool behind the register. I was so scared, Joyce whispered against his throat. I know. Travis held her tight. I'm sorry you had to go through that. But Joyce, this is it. She's out of our lives for good. Comment, goodbye Kendall, if you're glad this drama is over. Things settled after that. The days turned into weeks, and Joyce found herself falling deeper in love with Travis with every moment they spent together. He took her hiking in the mountains, where they stood at overlooks and watched hawks circle above the valleys. He showed up at her apartment with groceries and cooked dinner while she tried not to watch his muscular forearms as he chopped vegetables. He texted her good morning every day and called her every night before bed, even when he was traveling for business. And slowly, carefully, Joyce started to believe that this was real. That she deserved this. That Travis meant every word he said about loving her. 2 months after they'd met, Travis invited her to his house. Joyce had known he was wealthy. The car, the expensive restaurants, the casual way he talked about his business ventures, all of it pointed to serious money. But she wasn't prepared for the reality of Travis's home. It was a modern masterpiece tucked into the mountains just outside Asheville. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the Blue Ridge, the house seemingly carved into the hillside. Inside was all clean lines and natural materials, stone, wood, and glass, creating spaces that felt both luxurious and somehow organic. Travis, Joyce breathed, standing in the massive living room. This is incredible. You like it. He came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. Like it. Joyce turned in his arms. It's the most beautiful house I've ever seen. Good. Travis kissed her softly. Because I want you to feel comfortable here. I don't know if comfortable is the right word. Joyce gestured at the space. This is like something out of a magazine. It's just a house, Joyce. It's a palace. Travis laughed. It's too big for one person, honestly. I bought it thinking I'd fill it with, I don't know, people, family, a life. He tucked a curl behind her ear. Turns out you can't buy those things. No, Joyce agreed. You can't. They spent the afternoon on the terrace, drinking wine and watching the sun paint the mountains gold. Travis told her about his plans for his new company, Sustainable Technology Solutions for Rural Communities. Joyce talked about her bakery dreams, which felt less silly every time she said them out loud. "Have you thought about when you might want to start?" Travis asked. "The bakery?" Joyce shrugged. "I don't know. Someday. When I have the money saved." "What if you didn't have to save?" Joyce looked at him. "What do you mean?" "What if I helped?" Travis sat forward, his eyes bright with excitement. "Joyce, I have more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. Let me invest in your dream." "Travis, not as a handout," he interrupted. "As a business investment. You draw up a plan, show me your vision, and I'll back it financially. You'd own the majority stake, it would be your business. I'd just be a silent partner." Joyce's heart pounded. "That's too much." "Why?" "Because." She struggled to find words. "Because we've only been dating for 2 months. Because I can't take that kind of money from you. Because what if we don't work out and we're going to work out?" Travis's voice was certain. "Joyce, I know it's fast. I know it's crazy. But I also know that I want to spend the rest of my life with you. I want to support your dreams, watch you build something incredible, be there for every triumph and setback." "Travis." Joyce's voice shook. "What are you saying?" He stood, pulling her to her feet. Then, slowly, he sank to one knee. "Wait. Did he just comment? No way, if you're as shocked as I am right now." Joyce's hands flew to her mouth. "Travis, what are you doing?" "Something I should have done the day I met you." Travis pulled a small velvet box from his pocket. "Joyce Lansford, you are the most extraordinary woman I've ever met. You're kind and brave and beautiful in a way that has nothing to do with what you see in the mirror. You make me laugh. You make me think. You make me want to be the best version of myself." He opened the box, revealing a stunning ring, a square-cut diamond set in platinum, with smaller stones wrapping around the band. It was elegant and timeless and absolutely perfect. "I know it's fast," Travis continued. "I know people will say we're crazy. But when you know, you know. And I know that I want to wake up next to you every morning. I want to build a life with you. I want to be there for your triumphs and your failures, your joy and your pain. I want everything, Joyce. All of it. With you." Tears streamed down Joyce's face. "Marry me," Travis said softly. "Please. Make me the luckiest man alive, and say yes." Joyce stared down at him, this beautiful man who'd seen past her insecurities and loved her anyway. Who'd proven over and over that he chose her, wanted her, treasured her. "What would you say? Comment your answer, yes or no." "Yes," Joyce whispered. Then louder, "Yes. Oh my God, yes." Travis surged to his feet and kissed her, deep and passionate and full of promise. When he pulled back, his hands were shaking as he slipped the ring onto her finger. "It fit perfectly. How did you know my size?" Joyce asked through her tears. "Paloma helped." Travis grinned. "She's been in on this for weeks. Helped me pick the ring, actually." Joyce laughed, the sound watery and overwhelmed. "Paloma knew and didn't tell me? I swore her to secrecy." Travis wiped away her tears with his thumbs. "Was it worth the surprise?" "It was worth everything." Joyce kissed him again, pouring all her love, all her joy, all her hope into it. They made love for the first time that night, in Travis's huge bed with the mountains watching through the windows. Travis took his time, his hands and mouth worshipping every curve, every inch of skin he'd promised to love. "You're perfect," he murmured against her stomach, pressing kisses along her soft belly. "So damn perfect." Joyce had spent her whole life hating her body, but Travis's touch, his words, the way he looked at her like she was a masterpiece, it shifted something fundamental inside her. For the first time, she saw herself through his eyes. Saw her beauty. saw her worth, and when Travis moved over her, inside her, his eyes locked on hers as they moved together, Joyce felt complete. Whole. Loved in a way she'd never imagined possible. Afterward, they lay tangled together, Travis's hand splayed possessively over her hip. "I love you," he said into the darkness. "So much that sometimes I can't breathe with it." "I love you too." Joyce traced patterns on his chest. "Even though you're crazy for proposing after 2 months." Crazy in love. Travis kissed the top of her head. "There's a difference. Are you Team Travis and Joyce? Drop a heart if you're rooting for their happily ever after." The engagement announcement came as a shock to everyone. Joyce's sister Bryn called within minutes of seeing the Facebook post. "You're engaged? Joyce, you've known him for 2 months." "I know." "That's insane." "I know," Joyce repeated, unable to stop smiling. "But Bryn, when you know, you know. And I know Travis is it for me." There was a long pause. "Are you happy?" "Deliriously." "Then I'm happy for you." Bryn's voice softened. "Mom would have loved this. She always said you deserved someone who saw how special you are." The mention of their mother made Joyce's eyes sting. "I wish she was here." "She is," Bryn said firmly. "She's watching, Joyce. And she's so proud." The reactions from Travis's world were more mixed. Harrison Whitaker, his former business partner, showed up at the house 3 days after the proposal. "Travis, can we talk?" Harrison was in his mid-50s, with steel-gray hair and sharp eyes. "Privately." Travis glanced at Joyce. She nodded and retreated to the kitchen, though she could still hear their voices from the living room. "What the hell are you thinking?" Harrison's voice was low but intense. "Engaged after 2 months? To a barista." "To the woman I love," Travis corrected coldly. "Come on. You barely know her. What if she's after your money?" "She's not." "How can you be sure?" "Travis, you're worth billions. Gold diggers are everywhere, and they're getting smarter. A humble barista act is the perfect cover." Joyce's hands clenched on the kitchen counter. She'd known this would happen. Known people would think she was using Travis. "Get out." Travis's voice was deadly quiet. "What?" "Get out of my house, Harrison. And don't come back unless you can respect the woman I'm going to marry." "Travis, I'm trying to protect." "I don't need your protection. I need you to leave. Now." Joyce heard the front door slam. A moment later, Travis appeared in the kitchen doorway, his face tight with anger. "I'm sorry you had to hear that." "It's okay." Joyce tried to smile. "He's not wrong to be suspicious." "Yes, he is." Travis crossed to her, pulling her into his arms. "Joyce, I don't give a damn what anyone thinks. Not Harrison, not my friends, not society. You're it for me. End of story." But the doubt had planted itself in Joyce's mind. What if Travis's friends were right? What if she wasn't enough for his world? Have you ever felt like you didn't belong somewhere, even when the person you loved told you that you did? Comment if you've been there. The doubts grew louder over the next few weeks. Travis's social circle was full of wealthy, successful people who looked at Joyce like she was an interloper. A mistake. Someone who would never truly belong. A dinner party at the country club, a woman named Vivian cornered Joyce by the bar. "So you're marrying Travis Maxwell," Vivian said, her smile sharp. "That must feel like winning the lottery." Joyce forced herself to stay calm. "I'm marrying him because I love him." "Of course." Vivian's eyes traveled over Joyce's cocktail dress, another plus-size purchase that Joyce had agonized over for hours. "It's just interesting. Travis always dated such elegant women before." The implication was clear. "You're not elegant. You're not one of us. You don't belong." Joyce excused herself and locked herself in the bathroom, fighting tears. She stared at her reflection, seeing every flaw, every extra pound, every reason why someone like Travis shouldn't want someone like her. When she finally emerged, Travis was waiting outside the door. What did Vivian say to you? Nothing. She was just being friendly. Joyce. Travis tipped her chin up. Don't lie to me. I saw your face. The tears came then, hot and ashamed. She's right, Travis. Look at me. I don't fit into your world. I'll never be elegant enough, thin enough, good enough for these people. These people can go to hell. Travis's voice was fierce. And you're more than good enough. You're too good. For them, for this shallow world, maybe even for me. That's not true. Isn't it? Travis pulled her against his chest. Joyce, you're kind and real and genuine. You see people, really see them, in a way that these society vultures never could. That's not a weakness. It's your superpower. Joyce buried her face in his shirt, breathing in his scent. I'm scared. Of what? That one day you'll wake up and realize you could do better. That I was just a phase. A rebellion against your old life. Travis pulled back, his hands framing her face. Look at me. Really look at me. Joyce met his eyes. You are not a phase, Travis said intently. You are not a rebellion. You are the woman I choose. The only woman I want. And if anyone, makes you feel less than that, you tell me. Because I will burn my entire social circle to the ground before I let them hurt you. Drop a fire emoji if Travis just became your new favorite fictional man. They left the party early. On the drive home, Travis was unusually quiet. What are you thinking? Joyce asked. That I want to get married. Soon. Joyce blinked. We haven't even set a date yet. So let's set one. This weekend. This weekend. Joyce laughed. Travis, we can't. Why not? He glanced at her, his eyes intense. Joyce, I don't want to wait. I don't want to give society time to convince you that you don't belong with me. I want you as my wife. Now. This week. As soon as legally possible. That's insane. So is everything about us. Travis pulled over to the side of the road, putting the car in park. Joyce, life is short. My father died at 47. Your mother died at 56. We don't know how much time we have, and I don't want to waste a single day of it. He took her hand, his thumb brushing over her engagement ring. Marry me this weekend. Small ceremony, just us and whoever matters most. We'll have a big party later if you want, but right now, I just need you to be my wife. Joyce's heart pounded. You're serious. Completely. Travis brought her hand to his lips. What do you say? She should say no. Should insist on a proper engagement, a real wedding, time to plan. But looking at Travis, this man who loved her despite every reason she'd given him not to, Joyce couldn't find a single reason to wait. Okay, she whispered. Let's do it. Let's get married this weekend. Travis's smile was incandescent. He kissed her hard, his hands tangling in her hair. Thank you, he murmured against her lips. Thank you for choosing me. I'll always choose you, Joyce promised, and in that moment, parked on the side of a mountain road with the stars overhead and Travis's love surrounding her like armor, Joyce believed it. They got married 4 days later in the gardens of the Biltmore estate. It was a small ceremony. Just Bryn, Paloma, and a handful of Travis's friends who'd proven themselves genuinely happy for them. The officiant was a local minister Joyce's mother had known, and the late afternoon sun bathed everything in gold. Joyce wore a simple ivory dress, fitted through the bodice, flowing in the skirt, with lace sleeves that made her feel almost bridal. Travis wore a charcoal suit, and when he turned to watch her walk down the makeshift aisle on Bryn's arm, his eyes filled with tears. The ceremony was brief but beautiful. They'd written their own vows. Joyce, Travis said, his voice thick with emotion. Before I met you, I thought I had everything. Success, money, the respect of my peers. But I was empty. A shell of a person going through the motions. You filled me with life. With joy. With purpose. You taught me that love isn't about finding someone perfect, it's about finding someone perfectly right for you. He squeezed her hands. I promise to love you in sickness and health, through joy and pain, when I'll continue the story from where it left off. Feel beautiful and when you doubt yourself. I promise to remind you every single day how extraordinary you are. I promise to be your partner, your protector, your biggest fan. And I promise that no matter what life throws at us, I will choose you. Every single time. Joyce's tears were flowing freely now. She took a shaky breath and began her vows. Travis, I spent so many years believing I wasn't worthy of love. That my body, my life, my dreams were too small, too ordinary, too much and not enough all at once. And then you walked into that cafe and saw me. Really saw me. Not what I looked like or what size I wore, but who I was inside. She smiled through her tears. You taught me that I deserved to take up space in this world. That my dreams matter. That love isn't something I have to earn by changing myself. It's something freely given by someone who sees all of me and chooses to stay. I promise to love you fiercely and honestly. I promise to believe you when you tell me I'm beautiful. And I promise to build a life with you that would make both our parents proud. When the minister pronounced them husband and wife, Travis pulled Joyce into his arms and kissed her like she was oxygen and he'd been drowning. The small group erupted in applause and cheers. Mrs. Maxwell, Travis murmured against her lips. God, I love the sound of that. Me too, Joyce whispered back. Me too. Joyce wiped flour from her cheek and stepped back to survey the display case. Sweet Surrender Bakery had been open for 6 months, and business was booming. The shop occupied a charming corner space in downtown Asheville, with exposed brick walls, vintage lighting, and her mother's favorite quote painted above the counter. Baking is an act of surrender, letting go of control and trusting the process. The door chimed, and Travis walked in, still wearing his suit from whatever meeting he'd just come from. His eyes found hers immediately, and that familiar warmth spread through Joyce's chest. Hey, beautiful, he said, approaching the counter. How's my favorite baker? Exhausted, Joyce admitted with a laugh. We sold out of the lemon lavender cupcakes by noon. Again. That's because they're incredible. Travis leaned across the counter to kiss her. Just like their creator. Flatterer. Truth-teller. He glanced around the busy shop, customers at tables, the espresso machine hissing, the display case gleaming with pastries. Joyce, look at what you've built. This is amazing. And it was. Sweet Surrender had become exactly what Joyce had dreamed of, a place where people gathered, where the smell of fresh bread and coffee created comfort, where every pastry was made with love. Travis had been true to his word. He'd invested in her business as a silent partner, never once trying to control or influence her decisions. The bakery was hers, her vision, her rules, her success. I have news, Travis said, his eyes twinkling with barely contained excitement. Good news or bad news? The best news. He pulled out his phone and showed her an email. The Sustainable Tech Company. We just secured funding from 3 major investors. We're officially launching next month. Joyce threw her arms around his neck, not caring that she was covered in flour and icing. Travis, that's incredible. We're doing it, Joyce. Both of us. Building the lives we want. He held her close, and Joyce felt that familiar sense of completeness wash over her. Comment, happy ending, if this gave you all the feels. That night, they sat on the terrace of their home. Joyce had moved in 3 months after the wedding, watching the mountains fade to silhouettes against a purple sky. Can I tell you something? Joyce said, curled into Travis's side. Always. A year ago, I was convinced I was going to be alone forever. That love wasn't meant for women who looked like me. And now. She gestured at the house, at the ring on her finger, at the life they'd built together. Now I have everything I never knew I could have. Travis turned to face her, his expression serious. Joyce, you always deserved this. You always deserved to be loved, cherished, celebrated. I just got lucky enough to be the one who got to show you. We both got lucky. Yeah. Travis agreed, pulling her onto his lap. We really did. He kissed her softly, then deeper, his hands sliding up her back. Even after a year of marriage, he still touched her like she was precious. Like every curve, every inch of her was something to be worshipped. I love you, Joyce whispered against his lips. I love you more. Travis smiled against her mouth. Though I know you're going to argue with me about that. Damn right I am. They laughed, and the sound carried across the mountains, mixing with the evening birdsong and the rustle of wind through the trees. Joyce had spent so many years believing her story would be one of loneliness and rejection. But sitting there with Travis, in the home they'd made together, running the business she'd built with his support, living the life she'd once thought impossible, she realized her story was never about the size of her body or the opinions of small-minded people. It was about finding someone who saw past the surface to the extraordinary woman beneath. Someone who chose her, not despite her curves, but because of everything she was. And that, Joyce thought as Travis carried her inside and up the stairs to their bedroom, was the most beautiful story of all. So there you have it, Joyce and Travis's love story. A reminder that real love doesn't come with size requirements or societal expectations. It comes when you least expect it, with someone who sees all of you and chooses to stay. If this story touched your heart, smash that like button and subscribe so you don't miss more stories like this one. Drop a comment telling me, what was your favorite moment? And if you've ever felt like Joyce, like you weren't enough, I want you to know that you are. You are worthy of love, exactly as you are. Until next time, remember, your story isn't over. Your happy ending is out there waiting. You just have to be brave enough to believe you deserve it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.